everyone, and welcome to AIEDA's AutoTalk. I'm your host, Rachel Soleimani. A quick reminder that anyone who is registered for today's program will be receiving a copy by early next week. And if you have any questions, be sure to enter them into the Q&A bar. Joining us today, we have Taylor Blagan, account executive at Podium. Podium has been an AIEDA affinity partner for going on around 6 years now, and we're really excited to have you guys on, Taylor. So I'll let you take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and welcome everyone. Excited to jump into this. Today we're diving into really how AI is transforming automotive retail, and really not years from now, but what I'm seeing today in the conversations that I'm having with dealerships just like y'all. And as dealership leaders, you're dealing with a lot. New customer expectations that are higher than ever, tighter margins, and really just a competitive environment that is evolving faster than really ever before. And AI, it isn't just hype. It's really actually helping dealerships respond faster, sell smarter, and in some cases operate leaner. So my hope is that by the end of this session, you'll all be able to walk away with some real examples and lessons from dealers that are using AI today, and also a framework in which you can evaluate your own opportunities. So just as a little quick background around Podium and how we got to us where we are today, as the saying goes, necessity is really the mother of innovation. It kind of captures Podium in a nutshell. The passion and drive that we have here stems from our CEO, and the origin story started with his father, who owned a local tire shop, and his dad struggled to collect reviews and to respond quickly to leads. So that frustration sparked a light bulb moment over here. So our CEO, he wanted to create tools that solve those very challenges, tools that make local business operate faster, more responsive, and just allow customers to work with them in an easier way. So that mindset of really solving real world practical problems, it kind of drives everything we do today. It's not just about building cool technology. It's about delivering impact for our local businesses that we work with. Now, I want to touch on something over here, just in terms of AI, because I think a lot of my dealerships, have heard of this, even going back, decade or so. But I wanted to touch on something that our, Tim, who's our head of product over here, often says. He says, the pace is quick and it's only getting faster. So, for us, what that means is we're adding AI technology every week, and honestly, every day. We're pushing our teams harder than ever to keep up with the latest research and deploy new capabilities quickly. So, software today, with just the advances that we're seeing, it's not just a set it and forget it world anymore. We ourselves are having to disrupt ourselves constantly. So, large enterprises, they debate building their own AI stacks, but unless you're reading every new paper, retraining models, testing constantly, it's almost impossible to keep up. And that's why strong partnerships matter, and it just lets you stay ahead without carrying the technical burden all yourself. But that all being said, the AI revolution is certainly here. Many dealerships are already using it to a large extent. But the big question for a lot of my dealerships is, where do we start? And where's the real ROI? So that's what I'm hoping we can unpack today, because, frankly, the dealerships that are winning with AI, they're not just chasing the buzzwords. They're focusing on efficiency. They're focusing on engagement and, the customer experience. And, speaking of the customer experience, we're at a pivotal moment here in automotive retail, because, you just look over the past little while here, and we no longer have the blockbusters. We have the Netflixes. Heck, people don't even want to go through drive-thrus anymore, right? We get stuff delivered right to our doorstep through DoorDash. So consumers, they expect instant responses, personalized experiences, really seamless transactions, just like they're getting from the Amazons or the Ubers of the world. But the reality is that most dealerships these days, they struggle with slower response times, missed leads, maybe inefficient processes, and let's face it, just with the amount of work that we have to get done, lapses and human error. So AI can really be that bridge for a lot of my dealerships to help meet those modern expectations and do it with speed and with accuracy, and also at scale. So let's talk a little bit about manual dealerships versus the AI powered dealerships. So breaking it down, when it comes to lead capture and speed of response, nearly half of all the leads that my dealerships see come in after hours. Either they close a little bit earlier on Saturdays, or some dealerships aren't open on Sundays. And if you don't respond within 5 minutes, more on this later, we see engagement drop by about 80%. So AI is ensuring that we're never missing a lead. It's responding instantly, 24/7. It keeps customers really engaged before they move on. And a second part of this is just staffing and the scalability. Let's face it too, hiring and training and retaining BDC reps or sales staff can be tough. I think especially post-COVID, a lot of my dealerships have felt that. And, AI is able to eliminate or alleviate a lot of those constraints. It's able to handle unlimited leads with really consistent and professional responses. It's not taking sick days. It's not upset and affecting its quality of responses because its girlfriend or boyfriend just broke up with it. Just very consistent, professional, and timely responses 24/7. Now, the other thing that we discussed too is just margins and the compression of that. And every single manual interaction, on average, what we find costs dealerships between $5 to $15. So having an infinitely scalable 24/7 AI is able to drive down costs dramatically, by, again, working around the clock and not having to pay additional overtime or things like that. And then again, it's just a competitive edge for my dealerships. The competition is fierce, so being able to have something that's consistent and provides immediate service is now the expectation, and AI is setting apart my dealerships that leverage it in some capacity, ensuring that they're always on and available for a smoother customer experience. So really, bottom line, it's for the dealerships that are using it, it's not about replacing their team, but it's about removing bottlenecks or removing a lot of the grunt work that needs to get done, but nobody really wants to do. So they can focus on the things that matter most, selling and building these relationships and shaking hands and, just improving the overall customer experience. So as we get into this, I also want to touch on some of the things that, if anyone's been in the industry for a while, again, I think the idea of AI isn't anything new, but in reality, for probably the past maybe 10 years even, this is normally the experience that my dealerships have felt when working with quote unquote AI or these bots, where they were very generic and off-brand. Maybe a customer would exchange a message or two with it and could instantly tell this was not someone working at the dealership, or they couldn't really answer the questions or mirror all the things that make you unique. I work with a lot of dealerships ranging in high luxury brands and people in big cities to rural dealerships, and everyone operates a little bit differently. And these more generic AI bots just didn't offer that level of customization. And oftentimes you weren't able to control it. So it felt like somebody else just kind of working in your business. You weren't able to coach it and train it to all those nuances that you'd expect to. And even if you were able to, it was hard to get a sense on, well, Did it change? Why did it change? How did it change? Is it going to follow that moving forward? So those are some of the issues that I've come across with older models of AI, and just the advances now have completely changed that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second here, where now with this AI, you're able to provide much more personalized training and coaching to this AI. It is able to have a feedback loop instantaneously, see every update in one place, and really allow the AI to reason through that coaching and feedback that you're giving it. So that way you can ensure that the day that you get this or an AI tool that's trained this way, it's going to be the worst day ever. It will only get better, is what I'm trying to say, out of the box from that time forward. It's much like coaching a new employee that comes, very seasoned in the automotive industry, maybe 80-90% of the way there. And then, once it gets to, a little bit of coaching and training, 100% of the way there, and working 24/7. So let's talk about some use cases, how people are using dealership right now in their dealership. We'll walk through kind of four main areas where dealerships are seeing quick wins. They're removing those manual tasks and improving response time and follow-up. The first one, as I mentioned, is kind of those tedious tasks from your employees. One of the most obvious ones right off the bat is things just like writing review invitations, responding to reviews, drafting those messages. It's all kind of time consuming, and AI can handle that automatically. Also, just while keeping your tone consistent. It will be able to personalize the review invites based on each customer's experience to improve the conversion rate, and even generate professional and on-brand responses to those reviews. Dealerships using this see response times drop to by about 65%, which helps just increase those metrics through Google to drive more traffic to your website. So again, it's about saving time and strengthening your online reputation simultaneously. Another way in which people are using it is writing marketing campaigns. This is what we've seen worked in the past too, with being able to adjust tone and timing and content to resonate with your audience. On average, we're seeing dealerships see about a 3 to even 4 times higher engagement with campaigns that are written by AI versus manual copywriting. But the big one is getting back to every single lead with high quality responses and speed. And we touched on this very briefly before, but this is actually a study that was done by MIT, and they found that if you don't respond to a lead within 5 minutes, your chance of contacting that lead drops by about 80%. So AI ensures that you're responding instantly, 24/7 before that shopper moves on to your competitor. What we find is that, normally people, they'll send a lead into maybe 3-4 different dealerships, and the first one who's able to get back with them and actually deliver value, answer their questions, the leads seem to settle into a flow, and they don't want to have to start that process all over again with someone else. So that's why this is just so incredibly important. Now, we talked about this a little bit earlier too, and just AI doesn't need lunch breaks or weekends or holidays. It ensures that your dealership is always open, and it's ready to engage with customers at any time. And that competitive advantage, it really compounds over time. I mentioned this too, that a lot of my partners close early on Saturdays, or they take Sunday off. And now that they're using AI to get back to their leads during that time when shoppers, let's face it, they're at home. They're not working, and they're on their couch kind of surfing around. And if you can engage with them at that moment, rather than having them send in a lead and have to wait maybe 24, in some cases 36 hours to get back, you're just able to get in front of those people much faster. And that's why we're seeing such an increase in the amount of appointments that are booked after hours, versus traditional means of maybe waiting until we get back into the dealership on Monday, and now we've got maybe several dozen people that we're trying to opt in, or text or call or email, and they're busy dropping their kids off at school or headed into work. AI allows you guys to just infinitely scale your team and connect with them while they're available. Now, the other key point we've seen too in implementing an AI tool is just consider how integrated it is with all your communication channels, right? We would recommend that, rather than implementing a different AI tool for each channel, you use an AI that can actually unify all of them. And that's, all your communication channels. That's text and social media messages and website chat and phone. So the reason for this is it provides a cohesive conversation across all channels and allows that single AI to gather context from all of them. And that way there's not disparate communication going on in one place and an AI communicating in one spot and a different one communicating in another. When you're able to combine it and basically give the AI information, not just across all these communication channels, but also your team's communication, that's the kind of experience that is, our customers define as seamless and more human-like. This one's huge too, is, follow-up and mining opportunities using AI. Following up is probably one of the hardest things for my dealerships. What normally happens is, when a lead goes cold before, people might have a task in the CRM for the staff to, manually follow up, or, they send out a robotic kind of templated message or an automation reminder. But both of those have major flaws. AI can do this, and each customer can receive their own personalized, customized follow-up where the AI will actually generate the message and will reference the prior conversation, so that every single follow-up is more personalized and engaging and human-like. And it's especially useful for my sales teams because it's doing this constantly, all the time, and it does it across what people might consider the good leads and the bad leads, the ones that it's difficult to get our teams to struggle or to work consistently. So it's able to do that personalization at scale, and dealerships are able to stay on every single lead and rest assured that their marketing dollars aren't going to waste. And aside from follow-up, AI can also help drum up new opportunities with mining, training the AI to identify opportunities for things like warranty upsells and lease expirations and equity offers, finding those and then immediately sending out those personalized messages, and ultimately just making more money for the dealership across both sides of the house. And then another option here is just improving customer support and building that loyalty. And AI can manage frequently asked questions and common questions, ensuring that your customers always get a fast and accurate response. Again, it helps with that retention too, because responsiveness is often a deciding factor in where customers choose to buy or to service their car. So, this ultimately it comes down to how human-like is the AI that you're using, and we talked a little bit about the ones that have existed in the past, and just with the advances in these models, it's so important to really pressure test and understand, how much you can personalize this AI and how it does in specific scenarios that might not be the easy kind of lay down experience, but one that might require a little bit more nuance. So getting into a little bit more on how you evaluate those options. A lot of solutions are basically co-pilots. They help, but they can't complete tasks end to end. Where my dealerships are headed is they want a system that's goal-oriented, it's safe, it's scalable, it's well-supported, and it can actually complete a task A to Z. So, one of the tough things for my dealerships is because a lot of this technology is so new, sometimes it's hard to understand, well, how do we again evaluate my options? And these are the questions I encourage them to ask either themselves or the different options that they're evaluating. Is one, is the AI goal oriented? What model is the AI built upon? Does it use more than one, right? Because each of these models, they're good for different things. So it's important to understand, all right, well, should we use one model for maybe a sales type of inquiry, or another one for a service or parts, right? Is it learning over time? What guardrails are in place, and how do we benchmark and test it to improve it? Security risks, integration, it's so key, right? How easily does this work within or fit within the workflows of my team? So speaking of some of these evaluations, right, the goal, it needs to be goal focused. It should be measured, by results, not just novelty. Does it actually, move leads closer to appointments or sales? And if it can't prove that, it's your time. Consistency as well. It's huge. You wouldn't want one salesperson giving 5 different answers to the same question, and the same goes for AI. It needs to perform reliably across really thousands of interactions. And this is something that's actually really hard to do, but it's just so important. We've heard numerous examples of other AI agents where the answer changes based on slightly different ways a question can be asked. Another huge one is the conversationality of it. AI must sound natural and be empathetic and human and relevant. If it just feels too robotic, customers disengage immediately. So tone is just everything. I talked about this too, just the self-improving nature of it. A strong AI learns like a new hire. It should get better with every conversation. It should be able to see what's working and apply those learnings moving forward. And that's really what's going to ensure long-term ROI and keep your dealership at the forefront of innovation. It needs to be low risk too. These guardrails matter. You want an AI that's smart but also safe. So no off-brand answers, no weird tangents that get egg on your face. Trust is really a non-negotiable when customers are chatting with your brand. It also needs to be built for collaboration, right? AI should work with your team, not just kind of around it. If it ever gets stuck, can a human jump in seamlessly? In so much that the customer really never even notices. That's how you make an AI an actual team member and not just kind of like a widget. So when we're kind of comparing the market, there's kind of 3 different types on the market right now. You have the basic wrappers that are fast, cheap, but they're kind of unreliable. You have kind of general platforms that are flexible and not specialized. And then you have, vertical specific solutions that are purpose built for industries like the automotive industry. So where are we headed though? We've kind of talked about what it can do for you today. For, what we're looking at and what a lot of my dealerships are looking at is, how AI is going to be able to help handle financing approvals and voice scheduling for service. That's probably one of the biggest areas of frustration for a lot of my dealerships is making sure that they can get the phone answered and get people scheduled, but in a way that, again, when that AI picks up the phone, it sounds very real and doesn't get stuck on the most basic questions, and even leveraging AI for inventory recommendations. So, what we're saying again is that dealers who are starting to build these muscles now are going to be the ones who are setting the standard over the next year or two. So, again, dealerships that are embracing AI today, they're already seeing measurable results. Again, the faster lead response, the higher engagement, the lower costs. It's all about and amplifying our current efforts when it's used the best way properly. So. Thanks for everyone's time. I'm happy to take any questions if everyone has any.
We are just about at time, Taylor, but if you have any questions, you can send them over to me and I will pass them along to Taylor. Thanks for taking the time to share with us today. This was some really great information. I know you're a busy guy, Taylor, so just thank you all around.
My pleasure.
Again, you will all be receiving a copy of this webinar by early next week. We take a little break, but join us for our next webinar, Tuesday, November 18th at 2 p.m. Eastern, as Dealer Teamwork talks the digital strategies that dealers need now. For more information about AIADA, visit aiada.org. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day, everyone.